Everyone wants confidence, but nobody wants to look stupid. However, I feel like we're living in a day and age where, quote unquote, being cringe has prevented us from doing all the things that we wanted in life. And this is something I can really relate to because I'm always been afraid of, doing anything like starting this YouTube channel, for example. I've always been kind of nervous to do so because I'm like, man, what if someone discovers this and I look like an absolute buffoon? But I do know it's something I've always wanted to do, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today. I feel like we fear more about the judgment of others than we do from failure, because I don't think many people are actually afraid of failure as they are afraid of what people will think of you after you fail. Okay, so maybe that is the fear of failure, but I think that's how it actually is, not just failure itself. So many things that you want to accomplish in your life, like, having a relationship, maybe starting a YouTube channel or going to the gym, applying for a job, or, sharing your faith as a Christian. However, all these things are so difficult to do. And the moment you try to do it, it's like your entire body's like, don't do it, don't do it. But, deep down, like, this is how you progress in life. And if you don't do it, you're going to look back someday and be like, dang, why the heck did I not just take that chance? Why did I not do it? And I think the real answer is being afraid to be cringe. So I have struggled with this from like as long as I can remember. Being afraid of judgment of others, man, dude, it just shook me to the core, man. Especially with this, like starting relationships and all that. I mean, I know it's kind of like I said, it's cringe to say out loud, but I mean, I feel like most people are truly afraid of that. However, I know deep down, if I ever want to have a nice job, if I ever want all these things in my life, I'm going to have to take chances and perhaps maybe look foolish or be a little bit embarrassing, but that's the only way you can get past this next level and next stage in your life. And this YouTube channel, for example, I feel like it's been something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to make videos about the Bible and, learn and maybe share some of it. However, I remember every time trying to do so, I'd be like, beyond nervous to do it. I mean, also to that point, I remember like if you've ever been like in school and you'd be like, dang, that girl's kind of cute or whatnot, and you just sit there and like, man, I need to say something, but you just don't know what to say. You don't know what to do. You just freeze up and you just kind of like feel like a coward. That's kind of like what I've been like, struggling with. And I feel like a lot of people have, because I feel like, you don't want to be that go through the fear of rejection. You don't want to go through looking like a fool and being clowned on by like the whole school. However, I do think people who take risks are often perceived as being cringe or looking foolish or being embarrassing. I mean, think about every successful person on earth, whether it's like, a NFL player or, I'm just talking about like extraordinary, like really like 1% people. Do you think they just got there by literally just waking up one day and just being a billionaire? I mean, most people did not accomplish that and just like being like that. I mean, maybe you're born into it, but what I'm trying to say is at one point they had to take a risk. They had to go and do something that many people perceived as being, cringe. Like, I'm going to start my own business. And then people are going to be like, why the heck are you doing that? It's not going to ever work out. You're just being an idiot. But most of the time, those people who say that are the ones who are living that life they don't want to live deep down, because they were the ones who wanted to take that risk, but probably got, I hate using the word bullied, but they probably got bullied out of doing it, or they were scared of doing it. However, I've been reading this little-known book called the Bible for many years now, and I believe it has been talking about this very subject for like the beginning of time. So when I think of people being taking risks to achieve something they've always wanted in life, and maybe being, quote unquote cringe, and being, maybe looking foolish or whatnot, I think of Noah especially. Noah was, he lived pre-flood, of course, and God told him to build an ark, which I'm sure all y'all have heard the story before. But what I really want to talk about is the other people. I mean, they probably saw this guy build an ark, and they were like, what is this guy doing? And they probably made fun of him for doing that. So, however, after however so many years it was, I think it was like 100 years. I could be wrong. But God eventually sent rain and flooded the entire earth. And then you're looking back at it and you're like, wow. And they're probably thinking as it was flooding, like, man, that Noah guy, he had it figured out. We are actually the true fools here. However, if there is a story in the Bible that I feel like talks about the subject the best and most clearly, I think it's got to be this story of David and Goliath. If you think about it, if David was afraid of looking foolish, the Philistines would have won and Israel would have lost. However, he knew that he trusted in the true and the living God. And with that, he wasn't also afraid of being, called a fool or looking foolish, because everyone probably looked at him, and the Philistine even mocked him. Like, you sent a little young lad to fight me or whatnot. And we all know how it ended. David ends up, using a shepherd sling and, killing him and then chopping off his head. But as a side note, it really does, I feel like, play a part in our, modern times now, especially because with social media and all these things, I mean, everyone, I feel like, is terrified because no matter what you do, you're going to be put on the internet and clowned on. So don't be afraid of any of that. No, it's just part of life nowadays. And nothing's new here under the sun. So understand that being cringe, being foolish, looking embarrassing is all part of life. And you have to take these risks and be okay with being in that stage in life to get somewhere. Now, I'm not just saying that as like I've already accomplished so much in life. I'm not. Okay, I'm 20 years old. I'm trying to, do things in life. Like I'm still trying to find a career that I want to pursue and all. But I do know that to get there, you're going to have to face these consequences. Most notably, Jesus, the living Son of God, was not concerned with his own reputation. People mocked him, rejected him, spit on him, humiliated him. And even at the cross, it kind of looked like failure to the outside of the world. Like, this is the guy who calls himself the Son of Man, the Son of living God. And here he is getting crucified. However, that was God's ultimate plan to salvation. And we can't be allowing all these thoughts, all these, just caring so much about what others think about you, preventing you from doing these great things in life. And we must use Jesus as the perfect example to that. He was the, like I said earlier, literally the living Son of God, God in the flesh. And yet he humbled himself and wasn't afraid to look foolish. And it is very important that we ourselves do the same thing. Now, if you're still here listening to this, thank you, first of all. But I have been struggling with this, like I said, my whole life. And I've been lately trying to not be afraid of, I hate saying like what other people think, it's what everyone says, but it truly is a real fear I think most people have in life. And that's why I'm going to try to, start doing those things that I've been always kind of putting aside, and just I feel like I've been living in my own like comfort zone. So I'm going to try and be better and try to be, more like Jesus, of course. But I'm also trying to maybe give you all some advice. I mean, I know I'm not definitely not the wisest person on here on earth, but I'm hoping that maybe y'all can take something out of this, and that maybe you won't be afraid of, being cringe, being embarrassing, but rather just looking towards God, knowing that that's pretty much all that matters, and I shouldn't care about all these other outside factors. And knowing that all these things you want to accomplish in your life rely on you not being afraid of looking like a fool, because looking like a fool is part of life, and if you sooner you get used to it, better life will be. So I'm just going to challenge you all to do the same thing, and take it or leave it however you want to. Now, truthfully, this is kind of like a video towards myself. I mean, it does kind of sound like a lecture, but really I'm just trying to like talk to myself about all this. Kind of like almost like a therapy session, but that's kind of, like I said, that's kind of cringe to say. But I hope you took something out of this. If you made it this far, thank you, and subscribe. I'm trying to make many more videos just like this, and I'll see y'all in the next one.